King Hobo's missus, her boobs blow up, and you see the colourful goo going all everywhere.
Good evening, horror fans, dream warriors, and campers that forgot to check the back seat. Welcome to If Podcasts Could Kill. I'm Roach.
I hope Shags.
And that's Movie Massacre. Today we're going to be talking about the 2024 remake of the melt movie classic that is Street Trash. And I only have one question, sir, and that is, do you have anything to add before I bring you up to speed?
Yes. I'm confused on the remake sequel debate that I see quite a lot of people having. I see people say it's a remake and it's a sequel, but personally I think it's kind of in between. It's kind of, it's a reboot, I guess, isn't it? Because it is in universe. You see Viper in it, the bottled Viper.
Yeah. All right, we're ready for this?
Yep.
Street Trash 2024 is a Screenbox original, released between October and November of 2024. It is a dark satirical comedy horror directed and produced by Ryan Kruger, who some people may already know from the film Fried Barry. The film, to confirm your suspicion, serves as a spiritual yet standalone sequel to the original 1987 melt movie classic of the same name. It is also set in the same universe, only took around a year to make, shot on 35mm film with a runtime of 1 hour and 25 minutes. It was shot on a budget of $1 million, shot on location in South Africa, that mainly being Cape Town, which according to staff and crew of the film, the production did not have a local film processing lab nearby, so get this. The team had to send loaded reels of film over to the UK every few days of production, and they had to wait for them to be returned.
Bollocks.
Which meant that they couldn't immediately confirm if the shots were even successful after they'd shot them, due to having no playback option or anything like that, which in turn raised the stakes and pressure on everybody on every take. So let's talk about the plot. The plot is set in the year 2050, which means it is set 26 years in the future from its 2024 release date and 64 years from when the events of the original took place, if we give it that it was set in 1986 but released in 1987. Street Trash tells the story, or Street Trash 2024 tells the story, of a ragtag gang of homeless individuals. These are our central protagonists fighting for survival and against oppression in a society that's been split between two classes. These classes are the ultra-rich and the displaced, underprivileged, ultra-poor. The current government has decided to wipe out the homeless community by unleashing a brand new gas in the form of a chemical warfare by the name of Tenafly Viper 2.0, which, when you think about it, also not only raises the reach that the virus can get, but it raises the morality stakes of our characters when it's compared to the distribution, or the more controlled distribution, of the bottled alcohol from the original. Anyone familiar with the original will recognise that the acidic body-melting alcohol from the original was also named Tenafly Viper.
Yeah.
A scientist says in the film, again just confirming what you were worried about earlier, he says, "Using the samples gathered from the New York incident in 1986, we were able to synthesize the Viper compound and reproduce it artificially on a larger scale as an aerosol." So, my question to you is, what are your thoughts on the new storyline?
I actually didn't like the idea of this film even coming out, because I think to make another Street Trash film, it's a very difficult thing to do, because I feel like the first one is lightning in a bottle, and when usually you get lightning in a bottle, it's very difficult to make a sequel to a film like that, because they usually fail. There's only a few cases where things are better, and I think you can only tell an oppression story that's like that once. You're just repeating yourself, aren't you, a second time? Yeah. For, and entertainment purposes, it entertained me. I didn't think it were a terrible film, but compared to the status of the first one, which is an incredible movie. Oh yeah. I felt like it could have had a different name, and without the colourful goo, it'd just be called something else. And I don't think some people would realise it is a Street Trash film. to be fair. But the practical effects were amazing in it. That entertainment, that really did. I thought they did an incredible job with that. And it was nice to see him try and go away from digital effects, which there are a few, but only when needed, which I've got to respect, because some things they probably couldn't do with a budget.
Yeah.
But the gore itself, it's outstanding. They got the colour spot on. It was amazing. What entertained you in it, Jimmy?
I agree with you completely. In the respect that I thought the plot was safe and it was quite basic. I think that the beginning of it is fun and suspenseful, whilst it sets the tone and look and feel of the movie, whether it's regarded as a street trash movie or not. It sets the look and feel for that movie itself. The style and the humour, I thought, were on point for the type of movie that it is. Straight away, as you mentioned, with the effects, it doesn't hold back. It packs a punch with the practical effects. And I was laughing my ass off when that guy was like, when he says, "Yeah, it's itching me. It's supposed to be itching me." I was laughing my ass off at that. The chase scene that opens the film, I think, or I guess is the second film, is sort of a less eventful nod to the original opening, even down to the bumping into other street trash and stealing their food and drugs. Like, if you didn't know you were watching, but you were familiar with the original, by this point in the film, with those small details, the colour, the grotesque style, the chase scene, things like that, you'd know that you were in a sort of, you'd be reminded, I think, of a street trash movie, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I liked that scene. I don't think there were any talking in that scene, but just that scene of him running told you quite a bit about that character.
Yeah.
Because he's running, he's stealing cocaine, he's sniffing it in, he's running from cops. And you learn and you think, right, this guy's a POS. And then I think he steals food, doesn't he?
Yeah.
The cops see him, he hides behind a wall, sees some kids without food, but gives the kids the food. So you start to think, this guy really isn't a scumbag, he's just held back by higher ups, and he's a good guy, but he's turned to drugs, to try and get through life. He's really a good guy when you can see that he genuinely cares about others when he's giving kids food that he's stolen.
Yeah.
He stole it for himself, and then he sees them and he's like, no, you take it.
Yeah. Did you know that the writer and director of the original, J. Michael Murrow, saw Fried Barry and apparently approached Ryan Kruger to direct the next street trash movie?
You can definitely see that, because I own Fried Barry. It's a good film.
It is a good film.
It's like E.T., but for adults.
Who would you say this movie is for?
Hardcore street trash fans.
Yeah.
I think it's just set for hardcore street trash fans, and I think it's good that they went for that chap that you mentioned to write the film, because it's got that grittiness of the original street trash Fried Barry. That's what I thought when I was watching it anyway, and that's what you need, because there's one thing I don't like about horror, that it's horror that likes grittiness.
Yeah. I
think some movies can look too clean and proper and crisp, and I think that, yes, it still looks clean and clear, but I do think they've tried to achieve some sort of grittiness with this film, which I can appreciate.
Yeah.
The grittiness gives the movie the feel of you're in a shithole, which is what they're in anyway. I think done really well, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. I would say that this film is for absolutely, like you said, hardcore fans of street trash, but fans of melt movies as well, like Slime City and Body Melt, which is the one with Harold Bishop from Neighbours, if you remember that one. Or if you remember Harold Bishop from Neighbours.
Yeah, I do.
Fans of Fried Barry or like gross out films would most likely get a kick out of it, I think. But I don't think I'd recommend it to someone who was just starting out exploring, say, body horror or melt movies, or horror movies in general. I'd recommend the first one, I think, if they were looking for something a little more off the beaten path and they wanted that next level of zany. But I don't think I would recommend this one for it. Yeah,
what I love about the original is the maker of it said he created that film just to be offensive. That film is it's incredible, like how much it could offend you, that movie. But I'll talk about that one in detail another time.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like they went on all out offence with this one. I wanted them to do.
Yeah.
I think that's to match with modern audiences, 'cause like it or not, I do feel like a lot of modern audiences don't like that kind of stuff anymore and just think that it's just them just being mean, when it's not. They're just trying to push boundaries of what other people can handle with film.
I think this new one recontextualizes the original by exploring some intense themes such as homelessness, drugs, violence,
sex addiction.
It also shows the effects of government overreach and how sort of elite parts of society will eventually disregard vulnerable communities.
Got a question for you, sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
When this film started and you were watching it, did you think what I thought? US popped straight into my head while I was watching this film.
Absolutely, yeah. The film redefines what classes are in society, and that's exactly what's going on right now. With everything that's going on in context, like you say, there seems to be no discrimination for race or gender in this film. Being poor has become the all-encompassing race war, hasn't it?
Mixed, isn't it?
The film serves as a warning, I think, to the viewer by pointing out that dynamics in the story compared to what's going on in the world today could be where we're heading as a human race in democratic societies.
Absolutely. And it seems to think that when they point to Washington at the end.
Yeah.
Because I felt like even though this film was it came out in 2024, correct? So it was probably made in 23. So it wasn't that era yet, but I think it's more relevant today than the film ever has been. I know it's a newish film, but it's more relevant this year than it's ever been.
Yeah. I think despite it covering satire and raising political and contemporary social commentary, community and solidarity amongst marginalised classes and institutional oppression, the film is still more light-hearted in tone and themes, by a great use of horror and dark comedy almost. The look of the film and the way it is more of a distraction from the real message. And I think that the original is still very relevant in its underlying themes. I know that this one is relevant for today, absolutely, but I think that the original is a very grim satire of a world where the less fortunate are literally left to rot and decay, and the urban environment that they're in also shows that by the backdrop in the original film to the story. If you look at all the derelict buildings,
it's almost apocalyptic, isn't it?
It is, yeah, absolutely, yeah. The garbage, the neglect, it literally depicts the full collapse of a society that's clearly failed some of its most downtrodden and vulnerable people, such as the homeless, veterans, addicts, mentally ill in general, but more so the mental devastation caused by PTSD. Whilst these poor fucking unfortunate souls, Little Mermaid, live in such squalid conditions, the general population or figures of highest social stature, like you were saying earlier about the cop, the detective and stuff like that, such as law enforcement, healthcare, they're really dismissive or they're indifferent of the abuse.
Yeah. I think that's something that this film misses. Somebody like the cop from the original.
Yeah.
He played that so well. I don't know if that's because he was a cop in real life, which he was, which blew my mind, because he played it so well. Good New York cop.
Yeah.
So that you were saying earlier about the original and them ignoring the poor. I think the first kill in the film's a metaphor for it when you see that bum take that drink and he just gets flushed down the shitter.
Dude, I totally agree with you completely. I wrote in my notes here that the tenafly viper that they drink in the original causes people to violently melt after consumption, acting as a grotesque metaphor for the disruptive nature of substance abuse and self-neglect. And that's exactly what you were just saying there about when he literally, the whole thing is going down the toilet.
That's why I thought it were a metaphor of they're just flushing them on the shit. Like the world's for them is going down the crapper. And one of the things that I do feel like this film lacks that it could have done better is, for me personally, each kill just seems throwaway. Even though visually it does look incredible, it does, but it just feels like a throwaway kill. Like, oh, this person's melting. Where in original, the kills really stand out. It wasn't, oh, this guy's just melting. Yeah. It was, this guy's melting into a toilet and his hand's hanging onto the chain still as he goes in. The visuals on that are incredible. It's not that just someone's body's like, they put balloons on their body and fill it up with slime and it pops. That is visually great, and I can't think off the top of my head because I'm getting old, but a lot of the kills in that film really stand out. But the new ones do seem quite throwaway to me, even though they do look visually great. I'm not taking that away from them.
I think you're absolutely right, because when you watch the film, most of the big kills are essentially people on their own. So, for example, we have the first guy in the beginning, he gets forced to have tenafly viper, and he explodes and it's just him on camera. Then when there's that like other homeless guy in the beanie hat, he does the same thing. There's only him on screen And then there's another one as well where there's a guy or a person that melts, and it's just them on screen. Whereas I think the original, their lives are depicted with so much grim absurdity, where the institutions that are around them are meant to protect and serve are gradually failing, but the characters are all often engaged in brutal or dehumanizing acts towards others and themselves. The way that these ones look in this one, where they're all on their own, the other ones are all as a result of something that's been done to them, or it's like, the guy steals the other guy's drink, and it's like, that's what you get for doing that. Do you know what I mean? And it's all interlinked. Whereas this, it was, like you said, it looked beautiful, but they were all separate and apart from each other.
So original, the government had kind of, you could tell, caused a divide by everybody, which is why they were all, everybody hated each other. But in this one, it feels different, where there's more of a togetherness, that they've got to stick together to get through hard times. And I actually like that a bit more than I do in the original, because I think it's that. In a film full of grimness, I think that's quite a positive thing a positive message to put into it.
How did you find the acting in it?
You know what? I actually thought it were really good.
Me too, yeah.
I thought I love the actor from Fried Barry, but I thought he was quite wooden.
Yeah.
However, I loved those brothers. I forget their name, but I thought their chemistry was great. I thought they were fantastic.
Yeah.
And I really like the original bum in the film, and his friend, is it Chef?
Yeah.
I think his name is. I really, really liked their chemistry. Something that just took me out of the film, though, was when they were teaching... I forgot her name, my bad. They were teaching her how to defend herself.
Alex?
Yeah, they were teaching Alex how to defend herself, and then they just went into song and dance. What's that about? What was that for? That was a bit weird.
Alex is probably the most believable out of them all. She's sincere and is the most relatable person in the group, because she's like the audience, where she's brand new to the group as we are. So we're finding out how the group operates almost through her, so we can kind of relate to her a little bit.
She has a good judge of character too. Because when you watch the original Street Trash, a lot of the characters are very grapey, and when she sees this group, she knows that they're just a bunch of softies that have come across hard times. So you don't get that vibe from them, because there's a funny part where she's with them, and what's the main bum called? I keep forgetting his name.
Ronald.
Yes, and Ronald's there, and he says, "You can lay down over there if you like, and there's a vibrator in the corner, but no batteries." Just like casual about it, and she just laughs at him and goes, "Oh well." I do think though this film would have been a good animation.
Oh, dude, it would have been so good.
Feels like it would make for a great adult cartoon series or movie,
or a stop motion one. That would have been really cool.
Or a stop motion. Yeah. Or a stop motion. What did you think of acting, Roach?
I think one thing that was done really well is that you feel like you really get to know the group and individual characters in the group well enough in the very short amount of time that you share with them, that certain parts of the film, along with like aspects of the situations that they find themselves in, you do feel sorry for them, and you begin to share their emotions.
I think the character writing's really good, even in scenes where you see them on their own, like the beginning of the film, for instance, where he doesn't talk.
Yeah. He's
just running from somebody. You learn a lot about that character just in that one scene. I think the character writing's fantastic, and the acting in that scene's really good too. Mm-hmm. And I like the... I wouldn't call it a rip-off. Some will call it a rip-off.
Yeah.
I just think it's paying homage to the beginning of the film of the original, that scene.
Yeah. I think that although this film didn't make me cry, for the type of film that it is, it does have some believable and sad, heartfelt moments in it, I think, and that really stood out to me, that they were able to do that. I think you're absolutely right as well about the one of the main guys in it, Sean Cameron Michael, who does a really solid job playing, is it Ronald?
I think so. He just gives when I'm watching him, I just get warm vibes from him, even though he's supposed to be a scumbag, that's, an addict, a sex addict, and all that. Not a very nice person. He's got some glimmer of hope to him, which I like, where he'll question his decisions, is what he's done wrong, and should I try and better myself, because he does try and better himself. Because I like the scene when he's sat on that step outside with Alex and he's talking about his past and what he's done, and she says, "Oh, boo-hoo," and starts telling her, she says, "You don't know how you've had it," and then Alex tells him how he's had it, and you just get a warm feeling from him, even though he's got a bad past.
Yeah,
you still get like a glimmer of hope from that character.
Yeah,
because he still wants to help everybody. And he hugs her and tells her, "We'll get you through it, and everything's going to be all right."
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, yeah. I think in contrast to Fred as well, in the original, that he was the most similar character by looks, I think. Where Ronald plays a more central role as a protagonist, is a character that's proactive, he's brave, he's strategic, and he's almost sort of like a symbol of hope, and he's crafted in the narrative of the film to become a hero. And whereas Fred is more of a victim of chaos and a like comic relief almost. He's opportunistic and he runs away from confrontation.
He's a street rat. He's street trash.
He is, yeah. He's a mascot for comedic tragedy, isn't he, of the film? I think both films are splatter heavy, they're both surreal, and they both depict states of less fortunate individuals, you know, in a world where authority is out of control. But both are saturated in class and placement in society, and both take very, very different approaches, I think.
Yeah, one's all doom and gloom, which is the original, and it's just showing you that there's no hope to anything.
Yeah.
Pretty much what it is, that one. There's no happy ending. Everything's just done. Everything's already ruined in that one. When in this one, things are getting bad, and they're still trying to fight against it. Which is that part of togetherness when they're all, they're all trying to reunite to help each other out. Even there's rival gangs in this film,
yeah,
and they end up trying to help each other too, because they realise that the bigger picture is going to affect everybody. So they team up to get the big bad trillionaire.
Yeah. But just want to touch on Chef as well. You mentioned before, he kind of looks a bit like Stanley Kubrick in the film, and he's I think he's supposed to be the leader of the group, and I think Ronald is supposed to be the sort of pseudo leader, or he's the second in command, or he's pitched to be the next leader. But I think Chef is played really well. He serves to keep the group stable and grounded. He's a moral force for the group.
Goofy too.
He is, yeah. He's acting as sort of a mentor, but he keeps them calm and balanced, doesn't he, with his anecdotes and his humour, basically, like you said.
Oh, I like the scene when they're all trying to figure a plan out, and they tell Chef, "Chef, you go and stand there." He says, "I can't stand." They say, "Why?" "I've got bad legs." And then he says, "All right, then you're standing up now, though." And then he sits down and then starts telling him what he's going to do. It's brilliant.
I love that when he looks over to one of the twins in the couch and he says, if two vegans are having a fight, is it considered beef? I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that's a standout part for that film, comedy-wise, yeah.
He's definitely the moral compass of the group, isn't he? But particularly for Ronald, I think, he keeps him from straying.
There's a very weird character in this little blue thing. I forgot its name, but it's you think it's somebody's imaginary friend until the main character takes drugs and you realise it's real and only he can see him. And that thing's always got its tellywhacker out as well. It's a bit... For me, it's a bit weird, that character. I like the character, but with it being in that film, it seems a bit too different from the original movie. But I guess he's crazy anyways, isn't he? The chap that played Fried Barry.
Gary Green the Eighth, apparently he's called. Gary Green. Very English name. Gary Green the Eighth. Pretty much plays the same character, I think, as he does in Fried Barry. But with the exception that this is sort of like the homeless version or home-free version of that character, I think. He's called 2-Bit, and he's a character that is almost always in a state of hallucination, and he's able to see the little blue monster, the little blue puppet monster, by a name of Sokol. Not only is he blue, he has a very big blue dick.
And he likes to screw everything.
It does. That seems to be his sole purpose.
That is basically all the character does. Every time you see him on screen, he's just trying to do something like that. Even to Barry, even that chap, he's trying to give it a go to 2-Bit as well.
Yeah,
but he does shout out like random ideas to help him.
He does, yeah. Did you know that Ryan Kruger, the director, is the person that plays, or rather voices him as well?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. It's pretty cool. That.
I didn't know that until I was looking everything up. Yeah, but I think the character 2-Bit is awesome. I think he's well delivered. I think that guy's a really good actor, I think. But the sidekick just reminded me of sort of like Full Moon's Ginger Dead Man or Evil Bong, something like that. He gives that, that angle or storyline, I think, could have been left out, or I think at least it could have been executed in a different way. Maybe it could have been more effective if it was done slightly different. But I think that it really killed the flow and feel of the film, and it cheapened everything. Because I feel like it was doing really well until you're introduced to Sokol, and I just think it really cheapened the sort of viewing experience. It detracts from the main narrative story. Do you know what I mean?
I think it would have been a better character if it was in a different film.
Mm-hmm.
I think if that wasn't in the film, I do believe it would feel more like the original Street Trash, but just a little tad watered down. Personally, I think what they tried to do is they thought, well, they know the original's very offensive for the film, and they figured, what can we put in here that's can be slightly offensive? And I think that's why they threw him in there.
How did you find the script and the writing in this film, the dialogue, if you will?
I felt the dialogue was way more comedic than the original film. And I think they just,
Mm-hmm.
I think they went for I think purposely they wanted it to feel a lot lighter in tone to the original, because there are a lot of things that happen in the real world today. So they tried to make it a little bit lighter, because there is a lot of comedy in this that I wouldn't even call a lot of it dark comedy. It's just comedy. I feel like the original, it's incredibly dark comedy, but this one I feel like it's quite light-hearted. Some of it, just like I feel like I haven't watched a lot. I've seen a few stoner films, but I get the stoner comedy vibe from this one. And you've seen a lot of stoner films. Is that what you got from it?
I was just going to say, I completely agree with you. I think that especially like if you look at the twins or the brothers, they've got the sort of Cheech and Chong aesthetic, or sort of vibe, I guess, going on with them. And I think you're right. It does add that sort of, there isn't that element of it being a stoner film. I like that. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I get a lot of that from the brothers. I thought they were fantastic in that movie, those two.
Especially when the one brother there, you think he's dead at the end, like, or not at the end, but close to the end, you think he's dead. And you kind of, like, going back to what we were saying about how you get a chance to kind of get to know everybody a bit more in the film. It's heartbreaking at the same time as it's absolutely hilarious, because he keeps waking up and he's just like, and he's like, oh, you're not dead. And then he's like, oh, no, you're dead, man. You're dead. Oh, no, you're not dead. He's alive. It's brilliant.
I love that there's more comedy to the kills in this. So like at the end when they're all sat on the steps after the victory, and it shows you the main ones, and the camera pulls out, and he's sat there without his legs, and he's still alive, sat with them.
And then he C-3POs it on back of him, just like shooting. It's brilliant.
Yeah, he never actually died.
I like that element, though. It's really good.
I like when when Chef dies and his head comes off?
Yeah.
And one of the brothers jumps down and starts giving him mouth-to-mouth, resuscitation, even though his head's off. It's like, Chef!
And every time he pushes his chest, like, more goo comes out of his neck.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Funny. I think the writing on that scene especially is really, really good.
Yeah.
Because we see them in their little hub area, and they're all talking about the idea of what to do, because they want to catch they want to get a canister of Viper, so they telling us the viewers the plans, while telling each other. But while they're telling each other, it keeps cutting to the real scene of them trying to catch the robotic flying canister, and you see it happening in real time while they're talking about it, and I think that's a really, really good scene. I really like that, because there's comedy in it as well, because they say something like nothing will go wrong, and it cuts to one of the brothers, and he's on top of the flying canister screaming like a child, and they're all hitting it with random objects and throwing shoes and stuff at it. It's great.
Trying to slow it down.
Yeah.
I think for all the points that it tries to make, I did find the story within itself in terms of the dialogue to be, it's very campy or hammy, but I think the script itself says enough without too much fluff, which I know is something that we really don't like in lower budget films. Although is $1 million a low budget? I don't know.
It is today,
but it doesn't have that much fluff, or at least to keep the story moving forward within the universe of the film. It's entertaining enough, I think, and it seems. I'd say it seems believable under the circumstances within its own realm. I have to say the script wouldn't sound as good as it appears to be if it wasn't for the South African accent, because that is fucking marvellous.
It adds to the comedy as well.
Oh, I love it. Absolutely love it. If you made that film in American or even British, it would not have had the same ring on the dialogue.
No, I agree. It's at the bit where they're all three, him and Alex, and that they're walking along, and he just takes that food off of those two bypasses.
Yeah, but the dialogue between them in the South African accent, where they're talking about, literally every time you cut to Chef, he's talking about how every Disney film is actually a collection of short stories or stories about child abuse and groomers.
I've got a thing with that. I fucking love that they said that, because I do that. I've done that with people.
Yeah.
I always say Beauty and the Beast is a tragic film about mental health. It's a woman that sees talking pots and pans that wants to do bestiality. And Gaston's seen as the bad guy. Gaston is not the bad guy in that film. He's trying to stop bestiality in that movie. And I've told people and say, yeah, but he throws a dad in a mental institute. He belongs in one if he's brought her up to be like that. Gaston is the hero in that film. And when they mentioned Peter Pan, which I'll let you say in a minute, 100%, they're right.
Well, I think with just quickly while we're on the subject of Beauty and the Beast, the thing that I really never liked about it was the fact that the Beast is representative of the idea of like, look, the beauty is within, I guess is what they try to say. But then the reward for him being beautiful within is returning back to this handsome person. Why couldn't he have just stayed either the Beast, or why couldn't his true form not be as beautiful? Because the reward for her is that she gets the most beautiful looking guy in the land, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? That really annoyed me.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But I think with them talking about that though as well, it's sort of like a subtle thing to signify that there's not even hope in a fairy tale land anymore in their world. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely do.
They've got no hope, or they've got nothing to look forward to. But by relaying that these happy fairy tales and everything are actually fucked up and messed up and everything.
Yeah, it's a taught process. If you're brought up around positive things, you'll see things as being great and positive, and you won't really see much bad in things. But because, like what you just said, because they've been, bad things have happened to them, and now they're oppressed, and they see everything that's bad in society that holds you back. It's like you said, it's really well written, because that's how they probably see everything, as a negative. See the bad in everything. Like there's no way out.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the script as a whole is entertaining, coherent enough, and it's easy to follow. I just want to quickly talk, if you don't mind, about the secondary evil in the film. Not the government, but the Rat King, not the cool one from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But I just want to say that I felt that the presence and the threat of that character opposes is nowhere near as big as the one that the government poses to the characters. And I believe that the Rat King also doesn't carry as much weight as the Bronson character in the original, which I believe they're similar sort of character. That being the Vietnam veterinarian antagonist that is a PTSD hallucinating juggernaut.
He's a great character in that film.
Yeah, he is, yeah. Quite frankly, the character of Bronson is terrifying. And he's unpredictable, and he makes you feel like you need an instant need to shower, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. I was very disappointed when we saw the Rat King, because I thought it was going to be something like that, some overpowering presence of dominance, and it's just someone bedridden with an adult slave that wears a diaper.
Well, it feels like a joke, doesn't it, almost? And I feel like the film could have probably worked without that side plot, so it doesn't really make much of a difference.
Well, they're just more of a bargaining chip in the film, aren't they? Because they're trying to get Alex to do things for them as well. But I thought it was just done wrong. I felt like that was just thrown in for like what we were talking about earlier, for the offensive part of the film, where it just seemed to be the street trash part of the film, that they are trash, those people. And I think they were kind of, I don't know, either shoehorned in or it was just writing that I disagree with, because I just thought the characters themselves were bad, and I don't think they added anything to the film at all.
No, I think you're right, because with that character, when the film first opens and we go from the transition from the first homeless guy exploding, we cut into all these news flashes or these tabloid things that come in, and they talk about how the Rat King is this big underworld overlord thing of the, the homeless community, and they're the ones that are fighting back and spreading anti-government propaganda and all this kind of stuff. But then when you meet them, like you said, they're just a joke. There's no evidence of what they're setting everything up to be, and I feel like that whole side plot just falls flat completely, and it just doesn't really do anything. And then the Rat King dies, and the person that overtakes them is the slave who barely speaks any coherent language at all. Like, it's just so messed up.
Another thing is, I just thought, why would anybody listen to that person either? Because they've got no commanding presence, which didn't make sense to me either, because a lot of the bums in this are actually smart. They've just gone through bad times. So for me, that didn't make any sense whatsoever, because I'd just stand and laugh at them, and I'd just walk away. They've not got any power to them, like strength or anything, because they're pretty much bedridden, and the other one's chained up, so they're not going to force you to do anything either, are they?
It just all seems like a waste, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, so I think that was a waste, and then the blue puppet.
Yeah.
I liked that character. I just felt like the writing for it was out of place. And I do believe, I think...
Yeah, it's the wrong film.
Yeah, wrong film for it. I feel like it would have felt even more like a street trash movie if that character wasn't in it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a bad character. It would have been great in something else.
Absolutely. I think I would agree with that. I think that's a fair way of looking at it, I think. Absolutely. What do you think of the film's overall look and its cinematics, its visually, like how it looked to you?
For low budget films for today, my issue is that they just look too cheap. Even not in a way that I can't explain it. They look too cheap because the cameras they're using are very clear and they look great. They're using the high definition cameras, so it picks up on all the cheapness of the quality of the film, what you're viewing. And I can't really knock this one. Things are well made. The gore looks great. Yeah. My only gripe I've got about it again is it looks too crisp. It looks too clear. I like the graininess and grittiness that the original ones got, an original tech when they used to film. I just prefer that. I prefer that. I think all horror films should have that grittiness to it, because it just gives it a colder, grimy, mucky vision of what films like that are supposed to be visualising anyway.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Firstly, I agree with you completely. Yeah, I think in a nutshell, visually it looks great, but even though it was shot on 35mm, which should, in theory, give it that look that you're after, you are absolutely right, and I completely agree with you that the way it's edited, it's got much more of a sharper and clearer appearance than I think it should have had. It is still very gritty looking, but nowhere near as grainy and grimy as the others. It's still the world and locations seem dark and bleak and sort of cold. Like they sort of look like the downtown Detroit in RoboCop, that kind of look to it, but not quite as...
Sheffield.
Sorry?
Sheffield,
yeah. But it doesn't... But it could have looked a lot more like the original, yeah. Absolutely. It would have been a nice touch, I think, if they'd have... Seen as though it was shot on 35mm, if they tried to match the colour and grading of the original a little more, because it seems a lot more vibrant and saturated in a neon sense, I think, doesn't it, by comparison?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's what I was saying to myself while I was watching it as well. It is missing that, but I don't actually think it's a bad film. I cannot stand... Did you know when we were talking about in our last episode about Spanish Chainsaw Massacre? Go check it out. About low budget films that are made without love. Yeah, this is made with. I can tell that this was made with love,
without a doubt.
It is made well. It is made with love, and it's made well. It's not perfect by any means, but the first one is, to me, it's almost a perfect film of trash, that kind of genre, and body melt.
You can still see it's a B-movie style of film, and it's a gooey sort of neon love letter, I think, to fans of melt movies, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I was looking for, love letter. That's a perfect way to put it. I feel like a lot of films today are made without love, and it's made for conveyor belt purposes, And it's really nice to see a film made without that, and it's made for the love of the film, because you can really tell they love and respect the original.
Yeah.
And that's what we need more of in the horror industry. Films like this.
Yeah.
And it's a rarity, in my opinion. It's very refreshing to see it, and I hope they make enough money to make another one, because you can tell that they've got love in it and they're going in the right direction. Yeah. It'll never be as good as the original, because it's almost a perfect film to me. But it can still be a good film, and not be as good as the original.
Visually, it's very competent, I think, is the verdict. I think, isn't it? It's very competent whilst not looking like its original counterpart. It also reminded me a little bit, or some of the effects in it reminded me of the sort of stop motion melting scene at the end of Evil Dead. And then mix it with some of the elements from Slime City, something like that.
Yeah,
that was the kind of vibe that I got from it.
The one thing I do like about the original a lot is the music, the score.
Yeah.
Did you think they did a good job of it with this one?
Yeah, with the soundtrack, I think sometimes it's a little out or off, but for the most part, it blends the film genuinely well. I think I never really found myself noticing the soundscape or the score for the wrong reasons. But it's quite synth-worthy. It gives like a tone and an edge to the film.
Yeah, that's the thing that I'm a bit tired of films of today. They try to do the synth-worthy thing for a throwback. And sometimes when I'm listening to the themes of these latest films that try to throw things back to 70s and 80s, to me, it feels like it doesn't feel. I don't look at it and think that's a good song. I think that just sounds like a cheap imitation of some 70s and 80s. I didn't feel like that with this one. I just thought, oh, that's a cool synthwave track. I'd probably check it out if I could find it on Spotify, or just look at the credits, find out what the song said. I'd probably give it a listen to, because to me it felt legitimate and didn't feel like just an imitation of some synthwave song from 70s or 80s. They're trying to make it sound like that era. It fitted it to me. It didn't like they were just trying to replicate an era that's long gone. It fitted it fine for me.
Yeah, I think the whole film as a sound experience gives off the nightclub in Blade mixed with an 80s console blended through a drum and bass machine is kind of how that's how I found it, I think. Street Trash 2024 also has its own song in the credits called Street Trash, and it is performed by Ten Athlone, and the lead singer is Joe Vaz, who is the guy that plays Chef.
Really?
Yeah.
That's Chef? Wow. Yeah. I did not know that. That blew my mind. It's a good song too.
It is pretty funny, isn't it? What did you think to the editing style and the effects?
I loved the effects in the film. I thought it was done really well. Like I said earlier, they were great effects. It looked visually what you want out of a body melt film, especially a street trash film. I wanted vibrant colours in this film. They wasn't as vibrant as what I got in the original. I felt like a lot of the colours in the kills each one were just the same colours that they'd use in kills earlier on in film. With the original, you get your vibrant greens, your pinks, your purples, yellows, oranges, reds, blues. There's a lot in that film that you get, and this one's a bit limited in colour, but they still look visually great.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think they were awesome. I think they were all practical and all old school, done in camera, and it really does. Even though the film itself doesn't look sort of like grimy like the other one did, the effects still had that grit, and like you said earlier, it was refreshing. It's really refreshing to see that every practical effect was in it, and that the small use of CGI, it's noticeable and it's not great, but the things that they use it for like sparks or lasers and things like that was pretty good. So
it's only when needed. They don't do anything else. I feel like they've probably all sat and had a meeting and said, let's try and use practical whenever we can, and we'll even try for other stuff. But if it comes to it or we can't, then we'll do it. I feel like they've tried really hard to make a product that's full of practical effects for horror fans, because horror fans love practical effects. Yeah. I don't mind digital effects now and then. But horror's based on practical effects is what we loved. If been mainly it's an 80s slasher fan, we thrive on seeing practical effects, and they knock it out of the park with this. They really do, and I'm really proud of them to see that.
Yeah.
Really proud of those creators that they've actually done that, because a lot of people, I feel like today, some creators would have actually thrown digital effects into this if they did a sequel or a reboot to Street Trash.
Yeah. To add to that, according to an interview with Bloody Disgusting, I don't know if this is the name of the person that did it or the name of the blog that is part of Bloody Disgusting, but it's called Horror Geek Life Daily Dead is the name of it. And apparently, with an interview with Ryan Kruger, he said that he doubled down on prosthetics and only practical effects, and to go with zero CGI to bring that visceral, colourful melt effect madness to life. He said the film provides and delivers over-the-top body horror, and he said that he sees it as a popcorn melt flick, but with substance underneath the surface. Kruger also shared how using practical effects, especially with prosthetic melts, sometimes failed in unpredictable ways and would cause setbacks in filming and the budget, such as certain bubbles wouldn't pop as planned, or alternatively, they inflated too much before finally bursting. But Kruger said despite the setbacks, both financially and in terms of schedule, these little mistakes often turned out to in unexpectedly awesome visuals. They shot the film during winter as well, and apparently the cold caused all sorts of issues with the prosthetics and the practical effects too. So it does seem like it was an incredibly hands-on filmmaking process, even just to get that colourful goo, which makes for sort of like an almost deliberate stylistic homage to Moreau's original.
Well, I can tell that there's mistakes in that turned out for the good, because there's a scene where there's a guy that actually drinks a bottle of Viper, which was nice to see, and his face is popping up, and you can tell that some of them aren't bursting, so he puts his fingers in them, and he pulls down like he's trying to pull his face off because he's in that much pain, and you can see it pop and then dribble all over his hands. I felt like that had better effects, because some were popping, and I liked that he actually put his hands into them to pop them himself to get the goo out. It looks way cooler.
Absolutely. Did you think that when Ronald when he starts tripping out, when he finally takes that blue serum or whatever, that the technical elements in that were taken very seriously, and it resulted in a really, really cool sequence? That's when he sees Sokol for the first time, isn't it? Yeah,
I realised Sokol is actually real. He's just like an otherworldly being that only the other chap can see. And he's like, you can see him. Yeah, he tells him. And I like that sometimes you see a character that you'd see in a heroic film, where there's this one woman that's doing backflips and kicking because the police are there because of the riots, and she's kicking their arse, and she's doing backflips, kung fu style moves on all of them, and then she just gets shot in the back of head. Like he's trying to build hope. This character's going to kick ass, and then all of a sudden it does the trashy thing of her pulling that hope away. He just gets annihilated. It's so I really appreciated seeing that style of comedy. Oh, I want to give a special shout out to the kill in the original Street Trash, where the King Hobo's missus, her boobs blow up, and you see the colourful goo going all over her. They also did that in this one. So like, they're paying homage in the fashion of kills, which I actually thought that was really cool, and it was good to see.
I actually wrote that down as well, and I was like, one of the things that I really liked about it was the fact that they did that again, and it was it just made me laugh. There was just that immaturity about it that made me really laugh, and I wrote it down. So I noticed that as well. It was awesome. It's really neon and bright and brutal.
And speaking of immaturity, it is a very immature movie.
Yeah.
I always say there needs to be more dong in films, because it's not fair. And there's a really good scene in it where he shows you a bridge and everybody's panicking. This man just happens to just run straight by the camera, very unnecessarily. And it's right there for you to see. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Before we wrap it up and talk about what we felt and the verdict of it, what did you think of Kruger's direction in this movie?
I felt that he could have pushed some of the actors a little more in a handful of scenes to really get the best out of them. But I think in terms of the shots and things that he used, I think there's a good range of shots and angles, but I felt that, again, like the script, they were played very safe. I think he had the perfect opportunity, I think, to get really, really creative and experimental with different angles or panning options to really sort of bring out or emphasize the look and the feel of that whole world that's, you know, within the film. But he seemed to really like having just the subject or the actor mostly in the middle of the frame. And there were a lot of similar tracking shots throughout the film that I noticed where the camera is moving backwards down, say, a hall or through a building, something like that, or through an open door, and it's placed directly in front of an actor as they're walking towards the camera. And then if it wasn't something like that for a tracking shot, the majority of the shots were the default camera angle where it was just a straight wide shot. And I felt that he could have done so much more with it, I think.
You make a good point with that, actually, because you've just made me realise by saying that yourself. One of the reasons why I didn't think the kills were as good as in the original, they all felt the same, and that's like you said, it's because of the camera angle. They were just placed in the middle of the camera and they just filmed it, where in the other one you get all sorts of camera angles and panning the camera around them. You get side shots from the bottom up, from the top down, and you don't get that much in this film. I didn't realise that till you said it.
Do you think we'll see a sequel to this film from Ryan Kruger, considering the cliffhanger, you know, with the implication being that Viper is moving over to Washington from South Africa?
I'd like to see one, but with the film industry today, I think it's a 50-50, to be fair.
Yeah.
It may be, maybe not. It depends how people support it and watch this film.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things it's got going against it is publicity and people not really knowing about the film too much, with it just going straight to streaming and not in the cinemas. I'm not sure if it'll make its money back. So we'll have to see on that. But I really do hope that it does. What do you think on that?
I don't know. I think you're right in terms of there's not a lot of momentum for it. And I think that if we were going to get a sequel, I think it would have already been announced. Or maybe it has been announced, but I just haven't seen it. Do you know what I mean? But I don't know. I feel like it seems that if something's going to get a sequel, it gets made straight away the year after, or, you know, the next year after that, because they'll make it within the year and then put it out, you know, the year after that. But again, I don't think I've not heard anything or seen anything, and there doesn't seem to be like a lot of buzz about it. There seems to be more buzz at the minute about like Toxic Avenger than there does about another street trash film. But technically, did you know this? This is a little tidbit for you. This is technically the third street trash film. Did you know that?
No. Explain.
So the original street trash film is actually a 16mm, 14-minute short film by the same writer and director, like J. Michael Moreau. And it does have most of the cast from the 87 version. And it kind of serves as, well, I'm looking at Wild Eye for this, right? They made a short film like Sam Raimi did with Within the Woods for Evil Dead. They made this short film to get funding to make a better version, and look how that turned out. No,
so it was more like an advertisement you take to an investor to say, this is what we want to do, but we need more money.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. It's like what David Leone did with, is it Terrifier? With Ninth Circle, I believe.
Basically.
Yeah, I get you, yeah.
So what's your verdict then on this film? Is it one of a kind? Does it ride the coattails of the original's notoriety?
After a second watch, I did enjoy it a lot more, but when I watched the Street Trash 2024 or 2024, I watched that and it was 50-50 for me. I did get pleasure out of watching it. It was entertaining, but I also had that grumpiness to myself where I just say, oh, they're just imitating the original.
Yeah.
And then then I watched it. I watched it again after watching Spanish Chainsaw Massacre, and it was a reminder of how bad horror can actually be when there's no love involved. And this has got love involved. I can't hammer home enough how important it is to have practical effects in horror. And it's refreshing to hear Kruger say that he really wanted to double down and make it that way and not have it in it. Yeah, the camera angles could have been better with the kills, but still, they give us that body melt horror with practical effects, which I really appreciate. I do feel like it's a lot lighter than the original, and I appreciate that it didn't try to outdo it. You can tell it's not even bothered to try and outdo it. It has really tried to make just a fresh story. Because with some films, they'll purposely try to outdo the original to say, oh, this is wacky, this is zanier, and it isn't. It's just its own thing. And I really like that. I don't get the vibe that they've tried too hard to outdo the original. It's tried to be its own thing while also, pushing the franchise now, I guess, because there's two films further. And I really liked that. I think it's a very solid horror film, which is great to see today. What did you think about it?
I think you're right. I agree with a lot of those points, man. I really, really, really enjoyed it for what it is. I don't think if you take all comparison out of it, it's awesome. If we're doing the comparison thing, it doesn't really size up to the original, but to its credit, it's a really, really solid effort that I don't think it should be dismissed at all as a film. And again, I'm looking at you for this wild eye. Fucking wild eye. But I just have to say that the cover of the film, as with the original, and the cover of the original film, the scene that is on the cover is lifted straight from a scene directly out of the film, out of the movie. So it isn't misleading and even showcases the effects that are actually utilised in the goddamn film.
Yep, they're advertising the movie.
So it's pretty cool when you see the poster actually happen in the movie in front of your eyes. This poster that's been teasing you and making you want to see this film for ages or for the months leading up to its release. And then by the time you get to see it, the payoff is worth it because at least it is in there. The scene is in the damn film.
I casually said to myself, oh yeah, it's that scene from cover when I saw it, yeah.
I think by the end of it becomes more of an action movie, but it still is really fun. It has the spirit of the original, but it has a good handful of things missing. It does have a very satisfying end, that has to be said, and the standouts for me were the effects and some of the cinematography. The story is simple enough, but could have been stronger, or at least given a little bit more development, I think. The blue sockle creature thing could have worked better if the effects or the approach were executed differently. It could have been done in a way, I think, that was, if it had to stay in the film, that is, it could have been a lot better, but it's an element that I don't really enjoy. And I think you were right in what you said about how, it's a good idea, but it's the wrong film for that, for the execution of that idea.
It's like what you said, it'd have been better off as his own film, like Gingerbread Man or something like that.
Yeah, or like it's definitely a Full Moon thing, wouldn't it? Because that could be their, well, I guess they've got Puppet Master as well, but that could be their 3. No, because there's the demonic toys. No, because you'd have demonic toys and Puppet Master, and then you could have Sockle, Gingerdead Man, and Evie. Is it from or Evie from?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They've also got subspecies too.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
they've actually got quite a lot. Yeah, for a small company. I'd love them to come back.
I would say as well, though, this film doesn't have to be watched as a sequel. But although it stands on its own 2 feet, I would still say do yourself a favour going in. If you're going to watch it, watch the original before you watch this. Ultimately, all in all, the 1987 original is a raw, splatter-heavy, surreal, how do we stretch this out, punk rock dumpster fire with zero shame.
It's a master's class in practical effects. If you aspire to do things like that, I'd say watch the original and watch this one too, because this one showcases it very well, because a lot of films don't today. And I feel like if you aspire to even go into the art side of the film industry, when it comes to practical effects and colour, Just check them out. I think you'd really enjoy it as well.
The original is a cult classic that refuses to die, and it leaves the viewer both impressed and horrified. The sequel cleans up the chaos a little bit. It's slicker looking, faster pace, whilst keeping the gross effects, humour and spirit of its predecessor alive. It is more socially aware for the future and is it's a slightly more polished, distant relative, I think, than a sequel. But I feel it tries a little bit too hard to balance the satire with the substance and subject matters.
I feel like you can call them both body melt movies, but also I could feel like you can also put them in different genres, because I see the first one as an exploitation film.
Oh, yeah.
And I see this one as more body melt stoner comedy, which isn't a bad thing. It still is a good film. So yeah, check it out. It's worth a watch. Like Roach said, I would watch the first one. I'd watch it in order, just so you can appreciate the second one more and what it's aiming for.
I think both films as well echo the deranged. They've sort of both got a deranged energy of, like, say, Fried Barry, and both have got psychedelic melting madness. Both films though fit right in with their peers, like, you know, the Blob. I said earlier, but Slime City, Body Melt, things like that. The Fly 2 things. I have to admit as well, when I first, because I've been a big fan of the original, as I know you are as well, I have to admit, when I first heard that there was going to be a sequel, reboot, requel, whatever you want to call it, that was in the works, I braced for disaster, man. It's such sacrilege, you know.
I remember seeing the trailer and I sent it you.
You did, yeah.
And I just went, oh, for fuck's sake. It looks too polished. That's what I said.
It does, but it's actually a fun and faithful ride within reason, isn't it?
Absolutely, and it just, you got to remember, don't judge a book by its cover, which I actually do quite a lot, but then I watch it and I'm one of those guys that can actually change my mind. I've got a question for you, Roach. If you were in the 80s as a child and you saw the cover to the second one like you would the first one, would you get the same feeling?
Yeah, without a doubt. There's nothing on it other than that cop with his eyeball popped out and his face melting, and similar sort of stylized writing. Without a doubt, if I saw that when I was a kid, I would have been all over that like white on rice, without a doubt. Yes,
I feel like the advertising and just with the front cover alone was fantastic. Something I do wish this film could have had was more advertisements. I'd have liked to seen it around on posters, on bus stops. In video stores, more advertisements online as well, on TV, or when you're scrolling through YouTube. I'd really like to have seen that, because I think it would have helped this film do a lot better than it has. So I think we would have definitely seen a sequel if that would have happened.
I would say that the film is incredibly enjoyable. It's not for everyone, and in closing, it gets a 5.5 melted hobos out of a grimy toilet bowl from me. How about you?
5 slaps to JJ's face from me.
Beautiful.
That's a good thing, by the way. That's a good thing. Coming from somebody that doesn't like a lot of modern horror films, I actually suggest to check this one out. It's a fantastic film. If you enjoy exploitation films, and especially the first movie, watch it. You'll probably enjoy it. What about you, Jimmy?
I'd say it's incredibly enjoyable. It's not for everyone. I'd recommend it to anyone that's a fan of the original, or anyone that's into melt movies or body horror films. Absolutely. And with that being said, that brings us to our close today. Thank you very much to everybody that's listened. Thank you to everybody that's made it this far. If you're a returning listener, welcome to the fold. Until next time, my friends, have a good night. And
our next episode is going to be Maniac Cop, and don't forget to join our damn cult. Silly. We'll milked the cow.